I'm going to play some video and audio for you of what may be the dumbest segment I've ever seen on CNN. You know, if you've been paying attention to politics, that right-wingers and victimhood have a sort of strange relationship. The list of real victims is very odd in the minds of many right-wingers. Oppressed minorities, that's overblown. They're not really victims. It's mostly their own doing, sometimes because they're lazy. Women aren't oppressed. They're just biologically different, and it might seem to liberals like they're victims, but they're really not. What's another example? Muslims. Muslims are just terrorists. They're not actually victims of discrimination. The real victims for the right happen to end up being some combination of white, male, or Christian. And if you're really lucky, a white Christian male is the perfect definition of the true victim for many right-wingers. Now, this leads me to a recent segment on CNN on Michael Smerconish's show. I don't really know that much about Michael Smerconish's political views. I know, and he says in this segment, when he was younger, he supported Republican presidential candidates. Sometimes he's on CNN and he'll sort of make good devil's advocate comments criticizing either or both sides. But the premise of his segment was college Trump supporters are being victimized on campus by bad liberals at all of those evil liberal universities. Let's take a look at his introduction, which is already insane, mind you.
The supporters of Donald Trump to come out of the closet. Apparently not for many students at liberal colleges. The anger and divisiveness of the election cycle has spilled into their quads, generating more hostility and even fear. Remember a couple of weeks ago, I covered the bitter controversy at Emory University caused by some pro-Trump graffiti written in chalk. Now, student Trump supporters on many campuses say they're actually afraid to openly voice their views, that they're being ridiculed, harassed, called names, and ostracized. Three of them join me now, Dylan Pereira and
Okay, so then he goes to these three victims. They all, I mean, one of them has possibly a Hispanic sounding name, but lo and behold, we're talking about three men that present as white men, okay? First question goes to Ryan. Ryan is the first guy who is asked a question here. Brace yourselves. Take a look.
Of the Reagan-Bush effort at Lehigh University, my enemy was apathy. And here's a flyer that I used in the fall of 1980 to try and gin up support for Reagan-Bush. I threw a kegger. I was charging $1 a head. I had 3 half kegs of beer. And guys, literally, no one came to my party. So how have things changed, Ryan? What kind of a workout do you get when you go out and try and spread Mr. Trump's message?
It's a heck of a workout, let me tell you, spreading Mr. Trump's word throughout campus. I was shocked at the number of students that I was able to garner into our Students for Trump group at Penn State. We have right around 50 students right now, and it's growing every day. But just walking across campus, I get students ridiculing me every day, just walking to lunch or just walking to our meetings.
Well, what have they said to you?
I was walking to grab lunch the other day, and I wear orange quite frequently, as you can tell, and they said, "Hey, you in the orange," and I turned around, and he says, "Yo, F you," and I'm like, wait, what? Like, I was so shocked, so surprised, and appalled, but part of me, it doesn't shock me, because there's such that divide, but at the time, I was very shocked about it.
Anybody say...
This is not meant to be offensive to this kid. I'm against bullying. I'm against making fun of people. This kid would be getting made fun of regardless of who he supports because he's a quirky kid, Lewis. We're talking here about supposedly the systematic bullying of Trump supporters because they're Trump supporters. The kid says he was walking through campus and someone said F you. This entire thing, Lewis, is a completely fabricated way of making these kids appear to be the powerless victims in this entire scenario. And of course, we don't want anybody to be made fun of. Bullying is a disaster. This is all a disaster. But what are we really talking about here with this incredible segment?
I don't know. We're talking about an orange shirt. And I don't know. It's well, we know that Donald Trump, that there's a divide.
Yeah.
We know that his politics are divisive.
Of course.
We know that he is a very polarizing figure.
Yeah.
So I really don't know what we're accomplishing with this segment.
Let's get to the next kid and see if we can figure it out.
Brendan, what's been the reaction at NYU?
I haven't had anything that severe. But definitely, if you try to engage in political discourse with somebody, if you try to have conversations, you're just dismissed right off the bat if you say you're a Trump supporter. So usually, if I actually plan to have a meaningful political conversation, I have to wait and slide that in later after I've already made my points. But
well, how do they know that you're for Mr. Trump? Do you wear the hat?
I do have a hat, and I have worn it in the past. And I do talk about it a little bit more openly now, but it's still that the dismissal just, as a lesser, for some reason I have like lesser intelligence or something because I support Donald Trump. So it's just those types of insinuations.
So Dylan,
wow, incredible. People think he's not that smart because he supports Trump, which makes barely any sense for anyone to support. And then let's go to guy number 3 here, Lewis. And this is just an incredible indictment of the horrible anti-Trump bullying that goes on. Not real.
Does it drive you Trump supporters underground, or are you still out there wearing your Trumpism proudly?
Well, that's changed recently. So more and more we've been coming out of the closet. I've been meeting so many more Trump supporters. I think the number of Trump supporters I met has doubled. So it was originally 30, now it's closer to 60.
Wow.
And so we're a growing movement. People are no longer afraid. They're coming out. There still is that stigma. The other students of the campus, they get aggressive. They start yelling at me. I got yelled at.
What happened when you were yelled at?
Well, it was this girl. She just started screaming at me. She called me a fascist, a racist, all this really crazy.
Because you were doing what? Like wearing a button or something?
No, it came up in a conversation. But I just said that, yeah, she asked who I supported for the Republican, or...
Yeah, so wow, people are just yelling at you because you're wearing Trump gear and they're calling you racist and fascist? No, actually, it was in the context of a conversation. So what he's actually saying is he had a political conversation with someone, and based on what he said, someone felt he was being fascistic or racist. Incredible, Lewis. What incredible anti-Trump bigotry that's going on these college campuses.
Let's talk about what Trump supporters say to others.
Right.
How about a segment about that?
This is the dumbest segment I've seen on CNN, and I wonder if someone forced Michael Smerconish to do this stupid thing. It's not that I don't care about bullying. It's the idea that the marginalized are the white male students who support Donald Trump. And then last segment here, Smerconish goes back to the first kid and says, is all of this actual inflammatory rhetoric from Trump affecting you in any way? He says, no, I don't care about that. I support him anyway.
Any of the negatives about Mr. Trump, the comment about Mexico sending us its rapists, the misogyny, as some would term it, the way in which he mocked the disabled reporter for the New York Times, you know the negatives that are raised against your guy. That doesn't slow you down at all.
Not one bit.
Right.
With his business background and what he's been able to do with the Trump organization just shows how much energy he's willing to put into this country and turn the economy around, turn this country around, and put us on the right step forward. And especially for my generation, we're going to be the ones dealing with it for years upon years. So I believe it's important to get someone, specifically Mr. Trump, in there who can put us on that right step forward.
Exactly. So the fact that he openly mocked a disabled journalist doesn't impact me whatsoever. Trump is the guy for me. But is this the low point of Michael Smerconish's career?
It most likely is, but I don't know much about him either. So I'm going to give him a pass on this one because it's CNN and he may have been forced to do this.
Let's assume someone with even worse judgment than Michael Smerconish insisted that he do this segment where you portray white male Trump supporters as the marginalized and bullied victims in the country, really sticking up for the little guy. Good job, Michael Smerconish. FreshBooks is offering David Pakman Show listeners a 30-day free trial of their service. I'm obviously the host of the David Pakman Show, but I also run the business that is the David Pakman Show, and I want to spend as much time as possible on the show and growing and improving my business. So FreshBooks lets you get paid more quickly. It helps with invoicing. It helps with so many of those business administration tools, and it's for freelancers and small businesses who want to get organized on those issues and really focus on growing the business. So to get your 30-day free trial of FreshBooks and support the David Pakman Show, go to gofreshbooks.com/TDPS. That's gofreshbooks.com/TDPS.